Is that your perspective? And if so, where would you be applying the spanner to sort of tighten up what Ukraine should be doing?
Thank you, and I'm also delighted to be here today. In fact, what Sergei said, I'm going to say something very similar, that we on the World Bank side, we are very impressed what the authorities have done in the past 3 years. A remarkable set of measures that have been taken. And as a result of those measures, the economy has stabilized and the growth has returned. But the growth is still very low, 2%. And we are projecting also only 2% for this year. And we just saw the last quarter GDP numbers. And yes, 2.3, that's good. But we don't really see any sectors picking up in a decisive manner. So we don't see the growth spurt coming to Ukraine yet. And that's our concern, because if the growth continues to be at this level, 2%, it's not enough to lift the boats, to lift the income levels of the people, not even enough to reach the income levels that prevailed before the crisis, before 2014. So right now, there's no time for complacency. There's a time to proceed decisively with further reforms. So even though a lot has been done, the fundamental structural reforms are still waiting to be made. And some of those reforms are right now in radar. Talk about the health reform. Talk about the pension reform. These are reforms that are urgent. They are important, both of them, from the social point of view, given that the pensioners, a lot of pensioners are right now living in poverty. Health, given that Ukrainians are dying young, much younger than people elsewhere in Europe. And pension reform is also needed from the fiscal point of view. But then if you think about growth, I mean, those reforms are also needed for growth. But what is most fundamental for growth? And it's something that Sergei also said, and I was very happy that he mentioned that, is the land reform. Because if we look at what the country could do now to facilitate and accelerate growth and really transform the economy, it is the land reform. There are only 2 countries in Europe that don't have functioning agricultural land market. One of them is Belarus, but Belarus has collective farms. So it's in a very different place. But then the outlier really is Ukraine. So not allowing the selling and buying of agricultural land is something that's long overdue. And I have to say that I was delighted to hear both the President and the Prime Minister state in the past week that the land reform continues to be on the government agenda. It's still going to be, action bill is going to be taken in the fall, because according to our analysis, according to our calculations, that could provide a significant boost to the country. There are a lot of other reforms that I could talk about. Privatization was mentioned, anti-corruption is there, but I think that the land reform at this moment is the most critical after the reforms that are already in radar, the pension and health reform.